I will be talking about the selection of journals for our publications. So there are two different expressions. In one it says, it is the path leading to publication, and the second one is much more exaggerated, and it says that the selection of a journal is as much important as selection is suppose. So therefore, working on this path, we can clearly identify the importance of a journal for the publication. However, I don't think that the selection of a journal is not much appreciated in our country as it is in other parts of the world, because you need to have projects, you need to collect cases, you need to have follow-ups, you need to gather the data, and you need to have your statistics. And this timeline may change from 1 year to 2 years. And however, in the all journals that I have been working, maybe I think in for this 1.5 1 or 2 years of time, a very fraction of time is allocated for the selection of journals, only 1 or 2 days, without reading for the authors, editors, and so and in only half an hour later, so they are rejected from the editors because of selecting the wrong journals. I think especially for the young fellows, I think it is one of the most important topics that needs to be taken into consideration, and it is suggested to start with it is suggested to start with answering these three clear questions. What is my message, and why is this message so important? And if you start with this answering these questions, then you may have you may have an answer. And then and it should be just considered at the beginning of your writing your essay, your paper, or you should even can earlier it as much as before even authoring and writing your paper. And after deciding your reader target, your reader audience, and then you need to also weigh the uh, the significance of a journal that you are proposing to publish. And the most important part is that unfortunately in our country, and nobody does not does not read the author's section. And so actually we need also review last several editions of the respective journal in order to see whether this respective journal accept your type of essays or papers. And actually I was receiving case reports, 3 or 4 different case reports, and however it is of course rejected in a couple of minutes because it's completely against the context of the journal. And therefore you need to be sure that it's really is valid for the whether it applies for the for the scope of, because they say that so the schizophrenia journal or psychiatric journal, so you didn't need to identify the type of the publication that you are targeting. And also each publication it also identifies some. They say that we are working on these thematic areas more than the others, or these particular areas more than others. So you need to identify whether you are really on the door of the correct journal or not. And you need to literally comply with the code of conduct of the respective journal. And so especially and most of the authors actually prepare their journals. And so, however, from the perspective of the journals, so they say that the author does not comply with the minimum standards of the writing an essay, and therefore literally complying with all the rules and the principles really matters a lot, especially for some particular essays, for journals. And of course, the each journal each journal declares in their own website about the time of review, and also response to the author about the, and therefore it's also very much important. And another issue in the selection of the, it is pre-submission inquiry. I don't know whether it has any, and from the official point of view, especially, and they perform and preliminary assessment, and they perform preliminary assessment for checking whether it is eligible or not for their journals. And sometimes, especially if the authors suffer from a dilemma, they may refer to editors and to the evaluators. And therefore I strongly suggest complying with these issues as well for the selection of the journal. Another important issue is the metrics, and impact factor is also, as you know, that is one of the leading indicators for an efficiency of the journal. And especially for the young fellows, they and they are tending to submit their papers, especially to the very high impact factor journals, because it is not, I cannot claim that it's a bad attitude, and because then it may be advantages, of course it may contribute to your prestigious, and it also may ease the acceptance rate of your following your papers. And however, and on the other hand, the higher the impact rate of the journal is, then the lesser probability of acceptance is. And therefore, so you need to make an optimum choice. And impact factor means, it means that the and the number of the the rate of the citations made to the articles published in that in that particular journal, to the cumulative number of papers published in respective journal in the last 2 years. And so it is, they are checking very current. There is also IEN factor, another metrics, and it's a weight value of the stations, and also referrals to that journal in order to make much more qualified measurement. And actually the impact factor is the golden standard, and we don't consider the others too much into account. And however, impact factors is only for around 25% of the entire journal universe in the world. And as I told you before, impact factor can be because of the availability of few academicians in that area. And so it may lead to the understanding that the impact factor of some particular niche area. And so for example, in the theoretical, there may be no progress or the developments in the theoretical physics area, and that was apple and pears should not be put in the basket. And even though and as you know that the citation rates of the journals are few in spite is even in spite of having the especially if they are the non-English published published journals, and some papers may not have may have not received any citations in a couple of years. And while selecting your journal, you need to take into consideration as a part of your factors affecting your selection of journal. And another issue is the open access journals starting from the 2000 year 2000, and as an alternative to subscribed journals. and and of course, the author pays once to these open source journals, and then he receives editorial service, and then his paper is uploaded to a domain that is accessible by everybody. And so if it's an open domain, open access domain, so everybody can access, can read, and and as they can can also uh, give citation, and and also can also alter and use it, and and of course, open access journals make your paper be accessible to a wider audience. So it may also contribute positively to your selection of journals. And lastly, and there are also predator and journals also exist. There are also the predator journals are the ones least desirable to select, and assume that there are around 100,000 subscribed, and so around 30,000 of them are in the Scopus, and open source journals around 25%, but their market share is around 15% of the total. And like the Hindawi, BMC, some publishers, Hindawi and the BMC, so they have started to publish more and more journals, and at the starting from the 2000, even it was seen that the people started to be appear, or journals started to be appear that manipulates and misuse these these conditions. And there's a Jeffrey Bill, a librarian, and he receives a spam email in 2011, in 2019, and he checks availability of other journals or not, and he sees that there are dozens or hundreds of the and those are hundreds of other journals like the predator journals. That is why we have been informed about these predator journals. And according to and so he says that around 25% of the open access journals are the predators, and today is around ranges between 15,000 to 20,000 with the current numbers. These are the predator journals, as I told you before, and unfortunately, it is a continuous and developing trend as a part of this. As a part of this progress, it's commercializing on one hand, so they are focusing on more to the quantity rather than the quality. And because and also there is no transparent editorial and review process. And so a publisher may publish around 100 different journals in only one night time. And there are also some negative aspects related to and unique to our country, such as for example, and unfortunately, and our country is in the top five countries in the world in terms of the number of journals in a country. And however, Turkey is always listed among the top five in terms of number of predators journals in the country. And unfortunately, it is a very abnormal situation considering that thousands of essays and papers are published on it, and so they are checking. They are of course charging few, and they are prolonging the time for review. They are reviewing in 2.7 months on average, and therefore one of the most important goal and they should be not selecting the predator journals at all. And unfortunately, the author may not claim that I didn't know it before. There are some other aspects that will be affecting our choice. And there's a couples list. It's a commercial association, as you know, that there are white list and the black list, very much reliable indeed, and they have very high level of reliance indeed. And Jeffrey Bill stopped list uh, Bill stopped his publishing this list, and however, his funds and Bill's list is still available on the internet. That lists the name of the predator journals in the countries, and for the associates and also COPs, like whether it's a cooperation of operation of ethics, and another is scope. So they are always checking their own subscribers and the members, and so it means that they are also reliable. And so for the open access and DOA, they list the number of the open access journals. Availability of your journal inside this list is also important. Also in the pub, if it is available on the PubMed as well. Of course, none of them provides 100% guarantee. It is only leading, only guiding, and however they can be closed down, they may be reopened with another name, and therefore 100% 100% reliance cannot be provided. And however, even sometimes the official journals of the official websites of the journals may not be reliable at all, and therefore some cross examination and cross-control methods should be applied in order to make this selection. And so, of course, you need to check the editors and editorial board of the journals. And sometimes because they can be fake names, or sometimes they can use the names of the real people, but in some cases that person may not be even aware of existing of respective journals, as the operators of these journals are not the academicians, so they can create and they may copy, they may act as a copycat, and in order to mirror their and also reflect and mirror their competitors in their own website. There may be too many typos in that types of platforms and the websites, and also there may be problems, issues in accessing to archive of the journal, because especially for the case of predator journals, there may not be left behind any archives. And also we need to check whether the archive of the journal is accessible or not. And so if you cannot access to their archives, it must there emerge some level of suspicion on your side, which will lead you for deeper investigation about the reliability of the journal where you were supposed to submit your essays and papers. And then, if they are predator journals, you should not pay any subscription fee, and also you should also refrain from signing any copyright agreement, because if you sign this copyright contract, and so after that you will be vesting all the rights of your journal. Then you will so you should be retraction of your paper. And in some journals even charge for this retraction, and you should not be paying for these retraction fees. And so then you need to inform, and you need to notify to the editor of the journal about your history and your case. And because if your paper is published in a predator journal, then it means that you have a problem, because today there are around 500,000 papers that were already published in these predator journals. So that it means that as there is no referee, no editorial correction, all the mistakes available in your paper will be directly be reflected to the readers. And then you may get a notorious fame actually at the end of the day, or you may experience a risk of losing your paper completely, as these journals may disappear in a couple of years, or if they may go bankrupt, or they may shut down because of different reasons. And then so if you have a bad failure essay, then unfortunately it continues with your career. And maybe one of the most important criteria is to not to select the predator journals. And thank you very much.